Today we're going to talk about edge stitching and how to set up your machine to do edge stitching. If you notice the icon for edge stitching, it's this icon right here that looks like a piece of fabric with the needle. There are certain stitches that you cannot use while edge stitching, and those would be those stitches that go forward and backwards. An example of that is this stitch. You'll notice that it's grayed out, whereas if I select a couple of other stitches, you'll notice that those stitches can be used for edge stitching. For this instance, I'm going to use the middle straight stitch. When you do edge stitching, you want to make sure that you set your length and width to the setting that you want to have. Make sure you have a full bobbin, and I'll show you why in just a moment. The next thing that you want to do is you want to go into your settings and ensure that on page 1 that the width control is turned off, and then on page 4 that your needle position stitch placement is turned off. Then when you're ready to select edge stitching, all you do is select this icon. But before you do that, it'll tell you that you need to attach the vertical stitch alignment foot and the edge stitching sheet, but not to put your fabric on the needle plate. So let's talk about that. If you notice on the bed of the machine, I have applied the edge sewing sheet. The edge sewing sheet comes on a plastic sheet like this, and if you notice, there's a tab that you can pull, and you pull this transparent piece of plastic away. Make sure you say that, because you can reuse a sheet over and over again. You have a small supply with your machine, and you'll want to use it again if you want to use this function. You apply this so that it fits right before your feed dogs. You don't want to cover your feed dogs. And if you notice the lines on the side of the sheet, they actually are even with the cutouts over the bobbin case area. You want to make sure your bobbin is full, because you know that it cannot be accessed once you place that sheet on your machine. And again, you need to attach your V-foot. Once you've done all of that, you'll go back and select OK on your screen, and your camera will come on so that it can recognize the foot on the bed of your machine. You have a couple of different colors that you can change in the event that when you put your fabric down, you're unable to see the line once you place your fabric under the needle. If you notice, right now I have this placed under the needle, and if I want to have a 1/8 inch, let's go to an eighth inch seam, then what I do is I place the fabric under the needle, and if I change this, it changes the color of the thread so I can see where the edge of my fabric is going to be. I think the red is fairly visible, so I'll go ahead and leave it at that. Now I'll put my needle down, and I'm ready to sew. Now the fabric is going to move under the machine, and the machine is going to correct for the fabric, but I would stop periodically if it becomes too crooked, because what it does is it uses a sideways motion to try to get it straight. And let's just go ahead and start sewing. Let me move the camera again so that you can see the bed of the sewing machine. Now this is a time when you don't want to race. You just want to let the machine do its thing, and if it gets crooked, it will adjust with sideways motion. So I'll let it do that so you can see. You can tell the fabric is not going straight into the machine, but the needle is moving, and you'll notice that it is adjusting the fabric to keep it at that distance. Now I'll go ahead and stop for a moment and straighten my fabric again. when the fabric gets too far up and it cannot see the edge of the fabric, you're going to get a warning, and that warning is going to tell you that the fabric edge isn't recognized. So at this point, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to guide it yourself. So let me go ahead and sew this off, and then I want to show you the results. So here's the result of the edge stitching, and as you can see, the machine did a pretty good job, even considering you can see here where it adjusted itself. Would I be happy with this? Most likely not. I probably would want to hold the fabric straighter myself and to make sure that the machine didn't have to overcorrect. And I'll do that this next shot so you can see what the results look like.